Sweat Equity Podcast is streaming show, the #1 comedy business podcast in the world.
Money now.
And we're the #1 business comedy podcast in the world.
Okay.
No drop? All right.
Hey, that's what you say.
I don't know anybody else in the genre. That means we're #1 by default.
Right.
By default. We
What?
We have Kristian Harloff on the show. Kristian with a K. Harloff. Man, that guy. Whew, he had a lot. We could have done about 5 episodes.
Barely here.
I was trying to get you in. I couldn't. It's hard to weave in.
Fine.
We were stand-up comedians back in the day in LA, and had a little history, so it was good to reminisce. But he built a YouTube empire, so it's worth listening to. Get some good advice at the end. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. What else are we on? Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio.
Just say the word.
And if you're listening to this on any app right now, why don't you go subscribe, rate, review. We'll be your BFFs, we promise. This episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Hit the link in this episode description to start creating your all-in-one customizable website or your online store. You probably need a website. If you're listening to this and you go, I don't have my own personal website.
What?
Your name's Bart. BartMunkelfink.com.
No website, fuckface.
You should have your own site called BartMunkelfink.com. Sell your own merch that says Bart on it, not Bort. Bart. You can make your own domain. You can get your own email through it. You can start your own merch store within the website. You don't have to know programming. You don't have to know. You don't have to code if you don't want to. But if you want to, you can. Choose a website template and start your free trial by hitting that promo code link in the episode description. You want to get the party started? You want to talk a little industry?
Okay.
With Kristian Harloff?
Yeah.
Hotty-toddy.
It's called sweat equity. Sweat equity.
Sweat equity.
Sweat equity.
Sweat equity. You are listening to the Sweat Equity Podcast.
We're good to go, bud.
Okay, cool.
We do live on tape. We try to keep it as efficient as possible.
Yeah, sure.
Kristian Harloff, my old buddy, haven't talked to in over a decade, really.
It's been close to that. That's fucking crazy.
It's weird because I feel like I was in LA not too long ago.
When did you leave?
Technically 2010, but I was always coming back for work every 6 to 8 weeks. So a lot of people didn't know I left until like 2012, basically. I worked for a company, an air purifier company out of Pasadena that would fly me in.
Okay. Okay. Where are you? Are you in Tampa now?
Yeah, man.
I was there in August.
Damn. I wish I would have known, man.
I know.
Why don't you do this? Because we're so professional. We let the guests do their plugs at the top of the episode.
Way easier.
Oh, sure. The plug. I mean, look, I've been working on a lot of shit for the last couple of years, but I launched my own YouTube channel. I was working with Skybound Entertainment for a while, who famous for The Walking Dead and Invincible, and I was with them for about 3 years as VP of Content and Development. And during that time, I had created my own YouTube channel that I got a hold of. It's my channel now. And I've been doing that for the last year and a half. We just crossed around 65,000 subscribers. The socials are doing pretty good. So it's just my name, it's Kristian Harloff, and we cover like
with a K. With a K. Yep.
Yes, with a K. And we cover like pop culture news with the comedy twist. And we actually have a bunch of different interviews. We had Diego Luna on from Andor. We just had Andrea Riseborough on, who was nominated for an Oscar this morning, which is pretty awesome. And then we're having Katie Sackhoff from The Mandalorian on next week.
Yeah, I feel like every time I see your feed, you're with a new famous person of some sort. And we met doing the scene in LA. You were already kind of established when I got there in about 06, 07. And I was kind of a jet going around where you were, you were crushing it from my point of view. Like you were a class ahead of me, right? You've been doing it a while. You started in Tallahassee, I want to say, FSU.
Yeah, I did start in Tallahassee. It was something I always wanted to do. I watched all the specials. It's so funny that you bring that up, because I was right before I started doing the show. I found like on my phone as I was driving home an old interview from like '93 with Howard Stern and Bill Hicks came on, and anytime it shows up in my shuffle, I listen to it because it's just such a great Bill Hicks was so ahead of his time. But I watching specials and watching comedians like Bill Hicks and George Carlin and stuff with my dad when I was younger. I always wanted to do it. I never really did it anywhere. And then I remember it was so bizarre how that happened in Tallahassee. I was at Florida State. I saw some notice for I went to the theater school and some guy was posting up a thing and he's like, hey, people who want to try stand-up comedy, we're doing this. We have this group. And I'm like, I'll try it. And he's like, yeah, do you have 15 minutes of material? I'm like, 15 minutes? I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I'm like, 15 minutes. I'm like, nah. So I never called the guy back. So I let it sit for like a month. And then he called me again. And he's like, hey man, you never did your material. Like, do you want to be part of this group? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't really have an established 15 minutes. I've never done stand-up comedy before. So he's like, why don't you come by and come by my place? And this could have went really wrong.
Yeah.
It was legit. But yeah, I just told him some of the ideas I had. And he's like, no, I've been working. This guy's name was Mike Shader. And he was really, he was a good guy, nice guy. And he started this group. And I just started doing comedy around Tallahassee. And it's funny because I was doing 15 to 20 minutes.
Wow.
It wasn't good, but I was still doing it. And it was like that time. And then I started doing stand up in New York. And then I went to Los Angeles. And when I was in LA, I didn't even go there for stand up, but I had went up one night at the Improv, my friend, when it was for my birthday. And this story that I've told a million times over, but like Rick, do you guys remember Rick Overton?
Yeah. I heard he's opening. Is he opening for? Who's he opening for now? Who did I just hear?
Probably everybody. I mean, the guy's been around. I mean, I was just watching fucking Willow for the first time. He pops up in Willow. He pops up in everything. He's in everything.
Why can't I picture this guy?
I remember he was one of the intimidating when I went to the store when I saw him.
Yeah, right. Because he's low class. Did you ever? So for Willow, did you ever? You've seen the original?
Oh, the original, yeah.
Sure.
He's the little guy that's not Kevin Pollak.
Oh,
okay.
I'm gonna rewatch that.
Jeez.
It's Rick Overton. But so Rick was on stage and it was my birthday and I was there. My buddy took me to the Improv and we were up at I was sitting there and it was packed house and I was working for this company called Intermedia and I wasn't really happy with what I was doing and Rick Overton had this improv crew up. It was like the end of the night and they were crushing. He's like, look, this is the point of the night where we invite people to come up on stage in the crowd and see if they can hang with us. But normally no one ever does. And I was like, fuck it. And I jumped up there and I just had one of those nights that I got lucky because it was just, my timing was on, things were working.
That's awesome.
And I did really well. So when Rick comes up to me and he's like, you got brass balls, man. Every time I see him still at the Comedy Store, he remembers it. But that night, the biggest thing I mentioned, my wife tells me to shut the fuck up about it because I got off stage and remember I'm fresh into LA. I don't know if I'm here a month.
And what year are we talking?
It's like 99.
Okay.
Right. So so here I am. I get off stage. Rick gives me a big congrats, and I'm on cloud 9 because remember I'm just coming off. I'm just fresh off the boat from Florida State. I didn't know, if I saw my first famous person I saw was fucking AC Slater, and I thought it was like seeing Harrison Ford. So
to this day, I'd be like, holy shit, that's AC Slater. My God,
Mario Lopez is a big kid.
We can go home.
Yeah,
right.
I sit backwards because of him. Mm-hmm.
Right,
100%. So I get off stage, and then I feel this hand on my shoulder, and I hear you were
Zach Morris.
Close.
Damn it.
Close.
Dustin Diamond, touch me on the back.
And I haven't washed my shirt since. No, it was Sarah Silverman.
Wow.
And
Jesus.
at the time you would think for a comedian who's up and coming or trying to do something, you should say, hey, because I knew her from the Boston Comedy Club, I knew from those things, and I said what I should have said in that moment was, thank you so much. Listen, I'm going to try to get up around town. Can I buy you a drink at the bar just to pick your brain about, certain places to go up and everything too? Because I could tell from the way that she was enthusiastic, she would have said yes about, how try, at least give me some advice or something. Instead, I looked at her and I go, you were great in something about Mary. She's in it for like 3 minutes. She looked at me like I had a dick on my head. I was like, I'm
fanboyed out.
And then I made a right hand turn, like thanks, and and it was to this day the stupidest thing. But anyway, but it did jumpstart me to start going up. I quit the job afterwards, and then I just started going up and doing sets.
We also had another weird connection because you were with Joel Silver, right, at some point.
Yeah.
And my buddy Paul McCloskey, another FSU guy from Tampa. He kind of lived here in Georgia growing up, but just randomly, you guys knew each other. I was friends with that group of FSU people out in LA. And it was just another kind of serendipitous connection we had. And we didn't know that, I don't think, until way later on doing stand-up around each other.
I think Paul came to one of my shows one day, and then you were on the bill or something. That's how we figured it out, or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, because I worked with Paul for a while at Silver Pictures. Paul and I had many drinks, as I'm sure Paul has had many drinks with a lot of people. But I
just drinks.
But I liked hanging out. Yeah, I liked hanging out with Paul a lot. I mean, Paul is a good dude.
Yeah. He'll corner you in the middle of a party and tell you a business idea. If you catch my drift.
He does a lot of cocaine, huh? Cocaine?
I didn't say it.
Is that it?
That's all hearsay. That's just LA, that's how it is.
Business ideas.
No, he's a sweet guy, and he always meant well. We're still buddies. It's one of those things. He's got a product company. We'll have to get him on the show. But I want to make sure I don't skip over this. We ask every guest the first time they come on this question, what advice would you give your 13-year-old self?
Oh, holy shit.
We go deep. You just thought we were tank tops and muscles, right?
You just 100%. Just don't say what you want to say. Say what you want to say, and don't try to impress people.
Say what you need to say. Say what you need to say.
100%.
So, okay, so that kind of always sets the ground, like the foundation. Like, were you a kid that talked a lot and was told to shut up a lot? I'm guessing.
I'm going to guess you were probably quiet and didn't speak up. And you feel like you should have.
No, so I think that the thing is, it was a little bit of a mix of both. I relied on. I was definitely class clown, and then once I thought about this the other day because I have a daughter now that's in 5th grade, and I was thinking
too.
There you go. I have a 5th grader and a TKer. And so, but I was thinking of how I was in the 5th grade. I remember I was a decent student. And then after my parents got divorced, I just was like, went off. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I was a terrible student, but I relied on my jokes. I relied on, making people laugh. And I would talk and be talkative inside of my crew and stuff too. But I was kind of an awkward kid. And so for me, it wasn't certain times when I should have spoke, I didn't. And certain times maybe when I shouldn't have, I did. If that makes sense. So that's kind of how it was for a bit.
Well, you've got. It seems like you're a ball of energy, and I'm guessing it was even more energy when you're younger.
Uncontrolled, yeah.
Because you were not only a good stand-up writer of jokes, because I kind of always break down writing and performance, right? Like, what are the jokes you wrote, and then you do act outs. I remember looking at you and thinking about you, Dane Cook, these real performer type comics. I'm like, that has to be so exhausting. It actually made me go the other way because I'm like, I'm not that. Because when I tried to do that, I could do it, but I'd be 8-minute set. I'd be exhausted.
Shape. That's why you don't do it.
No, it's just
you don't want to do the work.
I think you have to have that personality innately because if you really
that's not you.
Well, it's not. It definitely isn't now. But once I settled down, I kept the mic in the stand. And just followed Ron White almost, and just try to emote, but without having to move. I would pace back and forth ADD wise. You want to do the Chris Rock, you want to preach, you want to hit everybody in the audience. But I had to realize I don't have that. I would gas myself out.
Dude, so I don't know. I mean, like I said, like you said in the beginning, we haven't talked in a long time. I stopped. I mean, because once I got into doing what I was doing with Ellis on with movie reviews and all that kind of stuff, and then we built out these live events. We created this trivia show called the Movie Trivia Schmoe that ran for 9 seasons, and we did all.
I want to ask about that.
Oh, yeah, I have a question about that.
We were doing live shows. Well, yeah, that's cool. We were doing live shows all over the country, right? And so that, and basically what Mark and I had done was grown this channel to about 300,000 subscribers, and we would put up our live show that we put out every week. The Schmoe's No Movie Show, when it was running, was doing anywhere between 100 and 150,000 views and a week. So in my head, which I and now, unfortunately, years later have discovered, in my head back then, I'm like, well, I'm performing in front of more people now than I ever did on stage, and I stopped doing stand up for a long time, and I think it was 2000 and 2010 or 2011 was like my last show, and then in 2018, Ellis asked me to do a set at his show, and it was a lot of our fans that were there from the Schmoe show. So I kind of did a pop in, and I hadn't done it, and it woke up the beast again, you know. So I did a few, and then obviously I was planning on doing a whole bunch of other ones, and with COVID and everything. But I started writing a lot during the lockdown, and I wound up going up a few times at Flappers, and it was funny because I hadn't ever done Flappers before, and I don't know if you've done it, Law.
It started like 2014 or something like that. So I was out
kind of later, and I had never done it, so I started doing it, and then I had this guy Jake Lewis, who I'm actually doing his show on February 13th. But like I had a few good sets, and I found it's funny you mentioned that the energy thing too. Like I have to do it in waves now because I'm not that kid, you know. So like I have to do it in waves because I did a bit that had a lot of high energy, and in my head I'm going, I'm thirsty and I'm tired. and my stuff kind of goes a little bit more towards my family and my kids now and all these things. But it's like I felt, I don't know, I mean, because you've been doing it consistently, I felt at one point, because it's like this time capsule, because I remember going up at like the room that we used to do together all the time in room 5, and we were performing to our peers or people who were older than us. Yeah. And so at the time, so I was up on, this is probably like 5 months ago, and I went up and this room's packed, and I go, all right, so who's married? And not a fucking peep. And I was like, well, all right, well, how long you been dating? The guy's like, 2 months. It's a bunch of like 22-year-olds. Yeah. And I had to shift. I felt, but it was, I went through this thing at the time that was great, because it was one, I'm like, I'm not that guy anymore. We can do, because that's not me. I'm a lot older than that. I had to realize that. Plus it also said, yeah, but I remember being on stage and something would go either wrong or not the right way, and I'm like, okay, well, what do I do now? Go shift. Now I'm just like, I'm so used to talking on this thing now, even more so than I was back then, because of podcasting and everything too, that I was like, okay, and I shifted to it. One particular thing didn't go well, and I just maneuvered around it, and I just wish that I had the time to pursue, because back then I was going up when I knew you, I was going up 7 nights a week and 2 shows a night. I would go to I would go to 5, and then I would drive to the Comedy Store. Yeah,
and I would be going to a lot of shows, not on them back in the day. When you're just a jet and you're green, you're like, oh, if I just hang out and I'm not a total asshole, I'll probably get on some shows.
I mean, do you guys feel like that you got to get up every night sort of mentality is the way to go? Or
in the beginning,
is it just
for sure.
Like every night? It seems like you don't have that retrospection.
Well, you definitely need.
You don't have that.
You need a life worth talking about for sure. But like,
it depends.
Right?
Yeah, that depends. That depends on what you want. Mm-hmm. Like for me, like I was going on the road a lot. I was doing stuff, and I had a lot of material, and I just had things I wanted to say, and I wanted to try stuff out, and I would be home, you know, smoking a bowl on the couch with my dog, and I gotta get the fuck out of here. I gotta go do something. So I'd go up and on set. So it would. And being a regular at the Comedy Store, I had more opportunities to do sets and be able to pop into a belly room set, do an original room set, do a main room set, and then, you know, be able to drive to. And I was part of this crew that Law and I were part of, and the guy who ran the shows, Mark Franco, he had like a bunch of different rooms, and he would have rooms at the Improv, and he had the rooms where he was like, hey, I got a couple sets tonight. Would you? So the answer is, if you have the time and you have the time available to you, you should go up as much as possible. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my thing was I was in LA for kind of a purpose. It was to do stand-up. And so I worked at a mutual fund company during the day, and that would be like, you know, 9, 10, 11-hour kind of thing. By the time you like left your place, got back home. And then there was a time I was doing groundlings classes on Monday for improv, because I would host and I'd suck at hosting. And so I was like, I got to get better at this. And I heard improv, it's going to help that muscle. But when, like, the thing that you're just talking about, when you go trying to do crowd work, and y'all married, and then you get flustered, and some people can't get over that. And I was like, when something went wrong, I was like, I would internally be like, oh, fuck. And so I asked to host as much as possible. And then I would take like improv classes, 3 hours on a Monday, driving from Santa Monica to West Hollywood, which is only like 7 miles. It would take me 2.5 hours most days on a Monday. Yeah, to go do that for 3 hours with a bunch of psychos in your class that are improv people because they're not cool. And then, like, most of them are not cool. They're all actors and stuff, so they're not in it really for the comedy part of it. And then do that, be exhausted, maybe try to do a mic that started at 10:30 or 11 on a Monday.
Right.
Wake up early as fuck, go to work, and then the next, see what shows I can get on. Drive to Tustin, drive 90 miles down to go maybe do an open mic, maybe get up, and then drive back. And I don't have that energy anymore, but when you're starting, you got to get all the reps in because you suck. And you don't know how bad you suck. It's a lot like entrepreneurship. Like, you're making mistakes, but you're like, it's okay. It's that cartoon meme of like all the flames around that dog, and it's like things are going
100%.
well, and you don't know how bad it is, how bad you are.
I think. Well, that's the whole thing. Is that it's just a matter of like I think there's two sides of it, right? It's like if you have an opportunity to go up every night and people are giving you spots, when you should take them. But like Law's saying, if you're at a certain part of your career, you're not going to be necessarily driving 3 hours to do a set that you're probably going to get paid $15 for. You want to hope by a certain point that you don't have to do that, right? So that's where it is. For people who are wanting to do it as a full-time career, you should go up. If you have an opportunity to go up every night, you should. Absolutely.
I think a big lesson for anybody listening on a professional kind of scope is you were doing stand-up and you didn't know what was going to come of it, but you knew you had something in the performing arts, right? And that built a foundation that led you to like having the Schmoes Know empire and those things you were doing. One story I think I told you, I may have told Ellis, not you, I can't remember, but I remember I was telling Eric this before we got on mic. I was walking to my office. We had an agency office down in Ybor. If you ever went to the Ybor Improv, down in like the Bourbon Street area, Tampa.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking up to the office, and our video partner, which had an office across the hall, he's listening on a speakerphone because he's Spanish, and he's listening. He doesn't do headphones because that's what, I don't know, Spanish people just do that. He's listening to Schmoes Know, and I go, nice. I heard your voice, and I go, what are you listening to? And he goes, this is Schmoes Know. And I was like, dude, that's a buddy of mine. That's so crazy. He's like, you're buddies with and he told me all the stats about y'all and how big you guys were and how many break-off shows you had. Can you tell us about that? It sounds like you've shifted in the last couple of years, but we were trying to do some research on you before we got on, and it's a little disjointed to find a kind of a linear timeline.
Well, I had looked up he said there was an IMDb page for Schmoes Know, and I don't even know. It said it at 30 episodes. There were 3 seasons, and the season said 1, 2, and 6.
That's Schmoe Down. Yeah, there were different things. Yeah, so there's Schmoe Down, Schmoes Know is like a whole. So the easiest way to kind of break it down, and you guys can interrupt me whenever you want. But so basically, what happened is Ellis and I met. We met at a barbecue. He came to my barbecue when this is when I was going up all the time at the Comedy Store, everything too, and he was trying to get into comedy, and we had a mutual friend that brought him to the barbecue, and I'd give him a couple of ideas and places to go up, and he did, and then I remember going back to the Comedy Store, and he was working there, and then he eventually got himself, because Ellis is hilarious, he got himself become a regular there, but we became buddies. I shot up when I was working for Silver. After I quit, I had started I wrote a television pilot right before the writer's strike. Brilliant. And it was called Grasping at Straws, and we actually shot it at that place, Room 5, and it was about stand-up comedians and everything too. And I had Ellis on set as one of the characters, and he and I really hit it off during like takes and stuff. And we were just talking about, we always did, but we found even more so, we were just cracking each other up the whole time. So in like 2007, do you remember Martini Paratori?
Name sounds familiar, but
so she was her dad, the late great Jim Paratori, ran like Telepictures, which is a big like reality division, and I think he like co-started TMZ and shit too. But anyway, she was a comedian that I knew, and her and like Eliza and all of us, we were like in this little group together, and then she went to go to work at Current TV, which was Al Gore's network in like San Francisco, and this is when nobody was doing this shit. Like, she was like, okay, we've got a bunch of people who are going to be reviewing, and they had those little flip cams, those bullshit flip cam things.
Yep, I have one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so she's like, we're going to send you one of those. where there's a whole bunch of new pilots coming out. They're like Big Bang Theory and Bionic Woman and all this stuff was coming out. And she's like, we're going to get a whole bunch of people to review them and then just send your footage in. We're going to make like a montage of everything. So we did that. They liked us the best. And then we started doing stuff for about a year with Current TV, where it's just Ellis and I, they'd pay us to go see movies. We would review them, and that was it. So we had this whole show that was potentially going to go with Rotten Tomatoes, and that kind of went south. So she had left Current TV, and she's like, well, I'm going to take off, but I don't know if you guys want to continue, keep doing it, and then go ahead, do your thing. And Ellis and I were like, well, we had fun doing this. Should we just take it? And this is, again, 2008. YouTube's only on for like 3 years at this point. So like, well, what do we do? Should we do something? Well, yeah. So at the end of 2008, we started a channel, and we called it Schmoes Know. And it was like just two schmoes. And what we wanted to do was like the way that you would talk to your friends when you go to see a movie outside, because at the time it was still all print reviews and all that kind of shit.
And maybe Kevin Smith had his stuff going. Maybe.
I don't even think Kevin Smith was doing
really?
Kind of stuff
okay.
on YouTube. On YouTube, I mean, I know he might have had a podcast. He was one of the first people to do a podcast, but to do like these movie reviews out there, it was myself, Ellis, a guy by the name of Fury the Film Fan, Grace Randolph, Double Toasted, who at the time was called Spill, and that was it at the time. Mm-hmm. Like the really big wigs, the big guys that do reviews now, like Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns, they came afterwards. And so we started doing that. We were like, okay, let's just take it from the everyday point of view. And then we started that, and it started slow. And then we started to do, and I think, Law, you were still around when we did this. We brought we were at the time, I think we were like 3,000 or 4,000 subscribers, and we wanted to do a live show with stand up, mixing stand up with like showing our videos in between. And we did, and we had, I mean, Eliza was on that show. I mean, Dalia, Santino, Renazizi, Ari, like everybody was on that show. It was a big show. We would do that show every week. Rick Ingram was on the show. We would do it every week. We would sell out the crowds, and we were doing that. And then my buddy Naveed McElargy did a set one night. He's a producer, a guy I worked with, and the trades covered him, like a Deadline, and they were like, oh, this guy does a thing. And Adam Carolla's producer came out to watch it, and they booked him on the show. And I was like, son of a bitch, we've been on the show for fucking how many weeks, and this guy's getting on Carolla. And he's like, I'll talk to him. Well, I think he's going to come into to the show next week too. So he did, and he put Ellis and I on Carolla. So we started doing Carolla with like 5,000 subscribers, and like, Doug Benson. We started doing Benson's show and all this, and that led to just more people finding out about the show. And then we started collaborating with more. So we started to get more notice on YouTube with movie reviews. But then in like 2011, we started our own podcast. And it just kind of grew from there. The thing that you're talking about, the movie trivia Schmoedown, that started on the Schmoes Know live show that we did. And we would do Schmoes Know live show. The idea was essentially because again, I was a big Howard Stern fan growing up, and I wanted to do Howard Stern for movies. So do like that long 2-hour show with even though we're talking movie topics, it's the crew that people are getting invested in.
Yes. You did a good job developing characters around you guys, which were guys that I love that you brought guys that I knew were stand-up comics that you would talk nerd movie shit with. Because I remember you guys would talk about Star Wars, and I just like zone out because I don't know anything about Star Wars. It's not my bag. But you guys were so heavily invested in Star Wars trivia. I'd be like, it's cool.
I think you're the weird one. Most people know.
No, I know,
Star
but
Wars.
Dude, look, you get comics to talk about comic books or Star Wars, you're fucking out of your zone. Like it is like Asperger's meets fucking autistic.
It is. It's intense, and it's crazy how you would think that would be so nice and chill dealing with Star Wars and comic book movies. There's no difference between turning on Fox News and fucking CNN with fucking DC and Marvel people. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, we had a run with he blew up with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard and that whole thing.
Oh yeah, that whole thing too. So it's nuts. But yeah, we created that. But that thing though that you guys are talking about, the trivia, that didn't come until it came out of essentially, again, my love for that kind of morning radio Stern feel. It was that we wanted to do things that weren't just a typical movie show. So we play these games, we would have these impressions, we have the guests on, but then we were pitting like our two interns against each other, and they were messing with each other. So I was like, look, you know what we should do is we should just do a trivia contest between the two of you. And they did, and it was popular with the fans. They loved it. It was a live thing. And then Ellis and I went to VidCon at this pizza place in Anaheim, and we're sitting down with, what if we did like a 15-week tournament of like movie trivia, but we made it like really big, and then the fans could play along, and we just call it like the ultimate Schmoe. And then we did that, and we had like so Katie Sackhoff was played Ken Knapsack in the first round, and like Bonnie Somerville friends came in and played, and we did, and we had that. It went really well. Then we did it the following year, and then when I started working for Collider and AMC, we turned it into like a weekly show, but we wanted to turn it basically into like WWE. And we took like storylines. All the trivia itself was legit, and we had like if you see, when one of you guys are talking in a second, I'll grab one of the belts. But we
you made it bigger than it should. It's bigger than it felt bigger.
Well, I wanted to go the esports route of it. And I said, like, if video games can be a thing where people consider a sport, right? Why can't trivia?
Yeah.
And when you say it at
look what Barstool's doing now. That's like one of their biggest shows.
And that came from Schmoe.
That's what I was going to say. Do you get a residual? Do you get a residual from then?
I got the receipts. Jeff Lowe, Jeff Lowe was a major fan of the Schmoe, and he loved what we were doing. And that came, and you should have Jeff Lowe on your show. I want to hear if Jeff Lowe says that the Schmoe was an inspiration, because I know that it was.
Well, you developed a world like if I had to, I don't have that much reference with these online communities very well, but I look at Barstool and they build up all these characters that are around the main four guys.
I mean, you can turn anything in the WWF and make it cool.
Right.
I think this was like the main kind of championship belt. It was like, so Booker T. Booker T was
Mr. Washington.
A big fan. Mm-hmm. He was a big fan of the Schmoe. So and we actually shot something in Houston, one of our live events at his wrestling arena, and he got involved in the storyline and everything. It was fantastic. But his guy, because he runs his own wrestling company called The Reality of Wrestling, and his guy who makes his championship belts made our belts for us, and it was it's pretty good. But we did this and we took it all over the country, man. We went to we sold out at a 1,000-seat theater in Chicago. It was pretty great. It was a nice run. It was like 9 seasons that it went, and then Skybound Entertainment picked it up in the late 2019. I struck a deal with them after I left Collider, and then they were like, we really want to get into the live events business. So we sell out New York in January of 2020. We sell out Atlanta in February of 2020, and then we have our Royal Rumble, which is like it was called the Free for All. It was sold out in Los Angeles. ESPN had come to do a big they were there for one of our shoots, and then they were going to come and they were going to write this big article on us. And then I get the notice, everything's shutting down.
Yep.
And then that was
should have moved to Florida.
Oh, this idea of WWF-inizing everything is going to be bouncing around in my head for a while now.
Well, that's
make everything better.
The sport,
church,
a little bit. I mean, you
make church like WWF.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
You walk in. Yeah.
Why do I have to?
Father McGonagall got a chair.
Why do I have to pray to Mary to get to God?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm.
Laser shows and
so.
Yeah.
And so, let's talk about, because we want to keep we try to keep these episodes pretty short. We try to keep it around 33 minutes. Sure. What have you done since then? Because I pulled up just your YouTube page, and I have this extension. It'll show me how many hits you get on your YouTube. It looks like about 51 million, judging by this just your YouTube that I'm pulling up. Take us from. We're always interested in a story where you get hit in the nuts and you have to kind of regroup and figure out. And it sounds like you're on your own and you decide just you got to take it as is, because a lot of people had to readjust in COVID, and it sounds like COVID may have done that for you.
Well, to be fair to Skybound, who took over the Schmoe for a while it was going, they kept it alive even during we had to, like everybody else, it went virtual, right? And it just I was publicly miserable about how it went, because it was just like this. It went from being this big WWE type event to essentially what we're doing right now, except playing trivia.
Right.
And it wasn't the thing, and a lot of the hardcore fans still loved it because they could play along with the game and everything too. But it lost what I loved about it. And then when we finally got back to in studio last year, the time had passed. The audience, there's so much shit that people can watch now. A lot of the audience had left, and it just wasn't doing it, and it wasn't worth the money to put it on. So during that time, though, I kind of knew I had to pivot a little bit. And we had this extension channel that was like the Movie Trivia Schmoe, like clip out channel. And I think it had like 6,000 subscribers or something like that. And I was like, well, what if in my head I'm going to need a failsafe. I need something. So I started working on that channel. And at the time, it was still a Skybound property. So they were anything that I did with that channel, any revenue that came in, that they rightfully would get that revenue for it. But as I was kind of having my deal on the way out, we'd kind of prematurely stopped the Schmoedown, stopped the season a couple months earlier than it probably should have. And I said, we had a good conversation. I was like, well, okay, I'll take off. What I'd like to do is this, and this. And I was able to I have the Schmoedown IP, it's mine. But I also am able to take that channel with me. And I did that, and they have the library that obviously, again, rightfully so, that they paid for. And but I got that channel, and I just kind of put everything that I had into that channel, and that channel went from 6,000 subscribers in a year and a half to now I think we're almost at 65,000 subscribers, which in a year and a half is just.
It's an amazing story. And if you can give any advice, us included, how you grow that channel, if you have any kind of, there's no silver bullet in marketing, obviously, but how could you tell anybody that's listening to grow their channel? Because being a YouTube celebrity is the number one thing kids want to be now. And I feel like they missed the part where you actually have to do the work around the video too.
Oh, I try to tell my kids that too, and they don't care to hear about the editing part of it.
Yeah,
and all that
my
shit.
daughter's the same. Yeah, my daughter's the same. It's like that's how we were as kids, though, too. Maybe not through YouTube and stuff, but we
wanted to be VJs. We wanted to be anything, whatever was on TV.
Glamour.
Yeah,
100%. You take the glamour of it, and you look. But
I'm still trying to be Eric Nies on the grind. That's what I'm going for.
You're getting close. But I'll say this. It's like I have no interest in that as far as like notoriety and that kind of shit. Success is something that I've always, I think, for me, want to make sure that I can do, because I think that's a show. It shows your hard work, right? It shows because I've been in that slump. I've been in that place where like, well, what the fuck, man? They say that hard work pays off. And you just got to put yourself back on track. You just got to say, okay, just stay with the grind. And what I tell people when they ask that question is just, it's consistency with YouTube. It's consistency, and it's also, YouTube is a strange thing because it's like they change their algorithm and they change their thing like all the time. So you gotta pay attention to it, because when I came back to do it as kind of a single channel, it was significantly different than when Ellis and I got success through doing our YouTube channel, of how you built the channel. And I've been paying attention to certain things. There's certain things that I used to do on YouTube that would work, that will not work now. And it's different for everybody. And it's like, you got to find what it is for you. And now the short game inside of YouTube is changing dramatically also, because of now the success of TikTok. YouTube is now going into
shorts,
more of these shorts, and they're starting to you can start to monetize them in February. I would strongly suggest that people try the short game, because the short game algorithm is not easier, but still in its baby stages compared to the long form algorithm.
That's good pragmatic advice. That's actually what we try to shoot for on this show, is just to give some kind of nugget away, because when you get kind of motivational things like work harder, that's nice, but it doesn't really help. So I appreciate that. We're going to have Jeff Lowe on, and then have you back on, and maybe we'll have you versus.
Yeah.
No, I love Jeff Lowe. Jeff Lowe's a great guy.
Hey,
I can show you that DM. I can show that DM.
well, we appreciate you coming on, and you're driving from Corona to make it. So that's I'm sure you don't live near Corona, so I'm guessing that's you drove back fast to do.
Yeah,
this.
well, I was doing a show out there, and it took about an hour.
Okay, still, we're grateful.
Yeah. You got it. It's good to talk to you again. I haven't seen you in forever.
And you started Bert Kreischer's career. I forgot about that.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
you were there. You were there. I listened to you on his show, I think recently, and you were at Potbelly's his first time, I think.
Yeah, he said to me it was that group that I just told you guys about. We were doing a show, and Bert had gotten all that attention from that Rolling Stone article, and they were like, hey, we're putting this guy, Rolling Stone, they're doing this thing, they want to put him on, and I was like, yeah, I said, I know, my friends were friends with him. I was like, I hear great things about him, and he was drinking at the bar, and I said, look, I'm telling you my personal experience. Might not want to do that. And he's like, why? And I was like, because
What if it's like your thing?
I was like, you might rely on it.
You're part of his origin story, though, and I think he just made $25 million on the road last year, so that's really
Drunk as fuck.
really cool.
Yeah, he should give me a percentage of that.
Well, appreciate you coming on, partner.
Thanks, man. Same. It's good to see you guys.
Man.